Hello, thank you for stopping by. My name is Tim Tokbe. In today's tutorial, we are going to be making a female trouser, and we are going to be doing this with an Ankara fabric, as you can see. So if this is what you're interested in, you want to continue watching this video, want to click on the like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on your notification bell so that you get notified each time I upload a new video. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to fold this Ankara into two. So this fabric is already on fold, as you can see. So what I use to fold this fabric is my hip measurement, my client's hip measurement. So I divide the hip measurement into four. My client's hip measurement is 44. So I divide that into four. That's 11 inches, and I added about 6 inches extra, so making 17 inches. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to mark 2 inches above here. So I'm just going to be setting aside this 2 inches mark because this trouser is going to be the one with an elastic band. So this 2 inches is going to be the elastic allowance. So I'm just going to set this aside. Then I'm going to be starting my measurement from this line. So this line will serve as my starting line. Then on the side here, I'm also going to be taking about 1.5 inches aside. So this is going to be like an allowance. I'm just going to keep this aside as an allowance. So I'm just going to mark that downward and then also draw a straight line across it. So by the time I'm taking my measurements, vertical measurement, any measurements I'm taking downward, I'll start from this line, and any measurements I'm taking from this side, I'm going to be starting from this line as well. So this space is going to be the allowance. I'm not going to start from that allowance I kept there. So now I'm going to mark my don't forget that this space is the elastic allowance. So I'm going to start from this starting line here, and I'm going to be marking my waist to hip measurement. So for my client is 9 inches. So please note that this trouser is not an high waist trouser. This trouser is going to start from my client. My client is going to be putting it on a navel, so it's not from the. So you have to measure your clients where they want their trouser to be. If it's high waist, or they are going to be, or it's going to be low waist. So this one is a low waist, starting from the waist and from the navel. So now I'm going to be measuring the crotch line. So the crotch line is 10.5, but I'm going to add half inch to it just to be on the safer side, and I'm going to be putting 11 inches. So how I got my crotch line is I made my client sit down on a chair, and then from our waist where she's going to be placing her trouser, I measured to the top of the chair. So you also want to do the same. So that's how I got the crotch line. So now I'm going to be marking the thigh line from the crotch line, and the crotch line is going to be around it's usually like around 2.5 inches or to 3 inches from the crotch line. So I'm just going to use 2.5 here. So I'm going to mark 2.5. So that's what I have here. And then from the starting line again, I'm going to be measuring my nail line. So my client's nail line is 21 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that too. And then I'm going to be marking the trouser length. The trouser length is 41 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that also. And then I'm going to be adding hemming allowance, 2 inches hemming allowance. So this allowance is what I'm going to be using to hem the trouser. So now I'm going to go ahead and draw a straight line across this line. So this is the thigh line, the hip line. This is the thigh and the crotch line. This is the crotch line, and then I'm going to mark across the thigh line now. So this is the thigh line. This is the knee line. And this is the trouser length. Then the hemming allowance. So back to the top. This is the trouser. This is the starting line. This is the elastic space, the hip line, the crotch line, the thigh line, the knee line, the trouser length, and the hemming allowance. So now what we are going to be doing is on the hip line, we are going to be measuring our hip measurement. So the hip measurement is 44, like I said earlier. So I'm going to add 1 inch to that, making 45. The 1 inch is for ease. So now I'm going to be dividing 45 inches into 4, and that will give me 11.25. So that's what I'm going to be marking on the hip line. So see the way I'm placing my tape. You can see that I'm not taking it into the allowance. I'm placing it at the starting line on the side there. I'm not using that allowance. So I've marked 11 1/4 here, and I'm going to be marking that on my crotch line also, and also on the waistline. So now I'm going to draw a straight line to connect these three together. So at this crotch line, I'm going to be marking my crotch extension. So to get my crotch extension, I'm going to divide what I have here, which is 11 1/4, into 4. So I'm going to use my tape to divide that to make it easier for me. So I'm just going to divide my tape into 4. So here I have about 2 3/4 of an inch, almost 3 inches. So I'm just going to approximate it to 3 inches. So I'm going to make my crotch extension 3 inches. So at this point, I'm going to go up by 1 inch so as to be able to mark out my crotch extension. So now I'm going to come from here now, then mark it to that 1 inch, then join my crotch extension, which is 3 inches. So this is going to be my crotch. If you cannot do this with your free hand, you can just use your curve. It's going to give you the same thing, just as you can see. So what I'm going to be doing now is to measure what I have on my crotch line. So what I have here is 14 1/2. So I'm going to locate the middle, that is half of it. So that will give me 7 1/4. So I'm going to mark that on the crotch line. And I'm also going to be marking that what I have there. So what I have on the side there, which is 7 1/4, I'm going to be marking the same thing on the thigh line. I'm going to be marking it on the nail line and also on the hem line. So that will serve as the middle line. Now I'm going to draw a straight line across this line. So I'm just going to make sure to draw out the middle line. So now every measurement I'm going to be taking, I'm going to be sharing it evenly on both sides of the line. So now I'm going to measure my thigh measurement. My thigh measurement is 26 inches. So I'm going to divide that into 2, and that's 13 inches. So I'm supposed to mark 13 inches on this line. But from the middle line, I'm going to share that 13 inches into 2. So that means I'm going to be measuring 6 1/2 on both sides of the thigh line. So I'm going to measure 6 1/2 this way. And on the other side, I'm also going to mark 6 1/2, making 13 inches in total. So my knee line, on my knee line also, I'm going to be dividing my round knee into 2. You are going to measure your round knee measurement. So I'm going to divide my round knee into 2, and I'm going to be sharing it on both sides. So it is 21. So that means it's going to be 10 1/2. If I divide it by 2, then dividing it into 2 again. So that means I'm going to be sharing 5 1/4 on both sides. So at the trouser length area, so I'm going to be marking my ankle measurement. So for my ankle, I'm using 12 inches. So I'm going to divide that into 2. So that's 6 inches. So the 6 inches, I'm going to be sharing it evenly on both sides of the middle line. So that means I'm going to be marking 3 inches here and 3 inches there. So now I'm going to be connecting the line from my crotch line to my thigh line, from my thigh line to my knee line, and from my knee line to the hem line. So if you have a long ruler, this would have been very easy for you. This would have been very easy to do. So I'm just going to re-chalk the mark so as to make sure the mark is very visible. So on this other side also, I'm going to connect from the thigh line towards the crotch line. So I'm just going to connect it this way. And this one, I don't want it to have any sharp edge, so I'll just find a way to blend it in. Then I'm going to connect the rest of my line, or the line, with my ruler, just like this. I'm just going to connect it to the hem line. So at this allowance at the lower part, I'm not going to connect it straight so that I would have enough fabric. I will not be short of fabric while I'm folding it. So you can see I'm bending it slightly, and I'm also going to bend this one too slightly like this so that I can be able to fold it properly without any issues. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut this, but before cutting, I'm going to be adding some allowance to this. So at this crotch area, I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch allowance because I'm cutting directly on the fabric and not on a pattern. So I'm just going to add my allowance here. So now I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch all the way at this front part also. So this is going to be my stitching allowance.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise.
So on the second, on this side here, so that is where the 1.5 inches that we set aside on the side here, this is where we are going to make use of it. So I want to add seam allowance to this trouser because this is Ankara fabric and it's not stretchy like crepe. So if my customer, she says she wants me to lose it out, but probably she had weight and she wants to lose it out, so I should be able to do that. So I'm just going to be measuring 1 inch on the side here, so that's going to serve as a seam allowance. But if you do not want a seam allowance, so you can just keep half of an inch as your stitching allowance. So I'm just going to reconnect this again towards the hem line.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire.
So this upper part, I'm just going to extend this waistline to the elastic band allowance before cutting it out. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out.
Wanna dance to the light. Pull the stars from the sky. Just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop. As we shout from the top.
So now I'm going to be placing this on another fabric so as to cut out the back part. So I place this here. This fabric that I placed it on is also on fold. So I have it on fold. So that means I'm going to be cutting 2 pieces of the back also. So what I did here is that I made sure that the fabric I have is just about 3 inches wider than the front part, and it's just about 2 inches longer than the front part also. And the length, the 2 inches extra is what I have here above here. So if you look at the hem part, you see that it is the same length. So that's just the difference, 3 inches wide width and 2 inches above. So what I'm going to be doing now is to extend the crotch line for the back. So I'm going to be using 2.5 inches to extend the crotch line. And on the hip line, I'm going to be adding 2 inches here. Then I'm going to be connecting this to the crotch extension. Then from this hip line, I'm going to be connecting it to the waist area here. And I'm not going to be adding any allowance to that. But at the upper part, these 2 inches extra that I left up, I'm going to increase the waistline, the height by 1.5. So you can see what I'm doing there. I marked 1.5 at this upper part here. So I'm just going to increase the back height so as to give the back enough room to sit. So now I'm going to be connecting from this point to the side there, and I'm not going to connect to the allowance area. I'm going to connect to the part before the allowance, so that by the time I'm stitching it together, it's going to be aligning at the side here. So now I'm going to connect this one to the actual, from the hip extension there, I'm just going to connect it upward to what we have as the front part. You can see I'm not putting any allowance there. It's just the same thing that I have at the front part that I'm connecting it towards. So I'm going to use a longer ruler now. So I'm just going to connect it straight to what I have there. So you can see the way I'm bending my ruler so that I can meet that actual point that the front that we have for the front pattern also. So this is what we are going to be doing basically to our back. So what I did is just to add 2.5 inches for the crotch extension. I added 2 inches for the hip extension, and at the upper part I added 1.5 extension for the back part. So that is just what we did that is different from the front part. So for this inner part, I'm going to be adding 1 inch allowance. This allowance is for ease. So I'm just going to take my ruler and connect this downward. So I'm going to connect from the crotch line to the knee line, and from the knee line to the hem line. So note that I did not connect from the crotch line to the thigh line. So I connect from the crotch line to the knee line, and then from the knee line to the hem line. So on this side, I don't need to add any allowance because I already have an allowance there, which my customer is going to use. I already have a seam allowance there that can be losing later for ease. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut this.
She puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull stars from the sky just too hard.
So if you don't want to put a pocket, this is all you have to do. So you just go ahead and sew it. But if you are putting a pocket, then you have to do one more step. So what we are going to be doing now is, remember that this part is where we want to put the elastic, but that's the elastic allowance. So we are going to be folding it like this. So that means we are going to be starting our elastic from after this fold. So I'm going to mark 1 inch now, and we are going to be starting our elastic from that 1 inch pocket, rather, from that 1 inch mark. So I'm going to be leaving an opening of 5.5 inches for our pocket. So that's where the pocket opening is going to be, so that my client will be able to put her hand conveniently. So I'm going to mark it this way. So you can see where I'm marking that. I'm marking it on this line. I'm not marking it at the allowance part. So I'm just going to draw like a rectangle this way, like a square or rectangle. So that box is going to be the opening for the pocket. So I'm going to be using another chalk to mark this out. So I'm going to go ahead and notch it so that it can reflect on the other side. So now I'm going to use this notch to mark out the pocket on this other side. So I'm going to mark 1 inch and then draw that box also here, so that I can know where the pocket mouth is going to be, the pocket opening. So now I'm going to be cutting 4 pieces. So I have these 4 pieces here that I'm going to be using for the pocket. So the width is 7 inches while the length is 10 inches. So I have it in a pair of 2. So I'm going to be using this for the pocket. So this part now, I'm going to turn it to the right side. So this is the right side. I'm going to be placing the pocket on the right side. And the pocket that I'm putting to the right side is facing the right side. And also make sure that it's about 1 inch above the start and the pocket opening. So now I'm going to go ahead and stitch on this line that I chalked earlier, this box that I chalked earlier. So I already stitched on it. So what I'm going to be doing is to knot it on the side, and then I'm going to be cutting off the excess. So this is the essence of drawing out the box. So now I'm going to turn it to the right side and then fold it this way. So this is how the pocket is going to look. But what I'm going to be doing now is I want to top stitch the pocket. So I'm going to open it up like this and then top stitch on it. So I'm already done top stitching on it. So this is what it looks like on the wrong side, and this is what it looks like on the right side. So now I'm going to be putting the second part of the pocket. So you can see that this is the right side and this is the wrong side. So when I joined it earlier, I placed the right side on the right side. So now I'm going to fold it this way, and then I'm going to be placing the right side of the pocket on the right side of this also, and then I'm going to be stitching. So that means I'm going to be stitching on the wrong side. So I'm just going to pin it around and then stitch it all around. So before stitching, I just want to make a curve on the pocket. So I'm just going to make a curve like this and then this way. So I'm going to be following this chalk to stitch the pocket, and then I'm going to trim off the excess. So I'm already done stitching, and I also stitched this part also where the pocket starts from. So I'm just going to cut off the excess. So I'm going to be doing the same thing to the second side also. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and iron it now and do the same thing to the second side. So I'm going to be putting the two sides together, and I'm going to be joining the crotch area. So I'm going to place it on each other like this, pin it together, and I'm going to be joining the crotch area by 1/2 inch. So this is the back part. I'm also going to be joining the crotch area by 1/2 inch. So now I'm going to open up the back part. After joining, I already joined it. I'm going to open it up this way, and then I'm going to be placing the front part on it. Then I'm going to be pinning the sides together. So you can see that the back side is wider than the front part. It is normal. So now I'm going to pin it together and then mark out the same allowance that I put for the side, which is 1 inch. So I'm just going to be marking it out. So while stitching, I'm going to be careful about that pocket area so that I don't stitch the pocket together with the seam allowance. So I'm going to make sure that I'm not stitching the pocket, because the pocket is going to be very close to the stitch in area. So now I'm going to go ahead and stitch this all the way down. So I'm done stitching it. Now what I have left is to stitch the inner part. So what this crotch area, I'm going to put it together this way and make sure that the parts where I have joining aligns. So I'm going to use pin to pin that together, and I'm also going to be pinning from one side to the M area and the second side also to the M area.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like
So now I'm going to go ahead and stitch it this way and on the other side too. So I'm done stitching and I've also gone ahead to iron it. So you can see this is our pocket. This is how it looks. So what is left is for us to fold the elastic area where we are going to have the elastic band. So I'm going to be folding it by 2 inches. So I'm going to fold each of the angles, the 4 sides, by 2 inches. So I'm going to pin it, and then after pinning, I'm going to iron it so that I can have a very flat band.
every shot from the top. We're
So I'm already done ironing it. So I'm going to be using this wide elastic for the 2 sides. So each of them is 5 inches. So I'm going to be placing this on this side and the second on the other side. So what I'm going to do is to open one side this way. So you can see that the iron already helps us demarcate where the band is going to be and where the line is going to start from. So at this side, I'm going to be marking 5 inches this way. And on the other side also, I'm going to be marking 5 inches.
gonna do it all again.
So now I'm going to be fixing the elastic on each point that I mark. So I'm going to pin it here, and the second one I'm going to pin it on the second 5 inches that I marked. So now I'm going to stitch it down. So I'm just going to try to fold it all around. So but first let me stitch this down. So I already have it stitched. So now what I'm going to be doing is to this part I have joining here at the center, this side. So I'm going to make sure that the upper part and the lower part is aligning. So I'm going to be pinning it together with the elastic band. So I'm going to open it up this way, then pin it together with the elastic band using that demarcation that my iron already provides. So I'm going to pin this together. So when I pin it together, it's going to be easy for me to stretch it out. So you can see that it's easy for me to stretch it out, and then I'll keep folding till I'm able to get all the bands all around. So I'm going to be pinning it. I'm going to be folding it about half of an inch this way. So I'm going to be pinning every part all around at the upper part so that it's going to be very easy for me to fold. So I'm going to be pinning all the angles.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire.
So now that I've pinned the angles, you can see it's easier for me to stretch out. So I'm going to fold it in by half of an inch. Then I'll keep stitching all around. Then I'll keep stretching and stitching everything all around. So you can see I'm done stitching the band. You can see what it looks like. So I'm just going to do here is to top stitch here also so that it can hold both the front and the back fabric together along with the elastic. And I'm going to do the same thing to all the 4 points. So this is our trouser, and on this lower part I already used my iron to hem about 1.5, fold 1.5 inches in. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to fold about half of an inch in again, and then I'm going to stitch it all around, and I'll do the same thing to the second side. So this is our trouser. You can see how it looks. So nice. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell. Bye.